Well, it's about time I got back to this, surprisingly enough. Fallout Equestria the Chrysalis, Chapter 14, Part 3. I helped take inventory in the morning. While we had gotten a vague idea of the wagon's contents before, we hadn't really taken the time to get a detailed count. I reclaimed my weapons with an almost anticlimactic lack of response, and then Dusty and I started going through everything, while Starlight recorded the information on her pip-book. The details are... well, they're mostly unimportant. There were hundreds of rounds of ammunition for most of our weapons, including a box of almost 100 rounds for the monstrous machine gun. A large medical kit carried everything we would need for field surgery, except the skill to do so. A dozen of grenades had been spared my explosive rampage, and we uncovered a box of mines, although there were only 4 within it. Then, there were the tools for weapons maintenance, a portable field kitchen, all the tarps, poles, and ropes needed for setting up tents or canopies, and some other basic camping gear. And of course, there were the weapons, including some pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, and a small assortment of various rifles. I was actually surprised when Dusty offered me one of the assault rifles. It struck me a gesture of trust, or perhaps it was a peace offering. Practical, too. Here. It's more accurate than your pipe rifle, he said. It's also faster firing and a lot more controllable on automatic. Larger magazine and lighter ammo too. While I considered such a weapon largely wasted on me, I had no reason to decline. We had more ammo for it than we did for my pipe rifle, and even I would benefit from the weapon's advantages. So it was a bit of a surprise to me that I was hesitant to relinquish my rifle. I eventually justified the upgrade by reasoning that I would still own the old rifle, even if I wasn't using or even carrying it. I spent a fair amount of time thinking on that decision later in the day. At some point, it had ceased to be Sharp's rifle and had become my rifle. A curious sort of sentimental attachment that I wasn't certain I was entirely comfortable with, particularly given the object of that attachment. Dusty even took the time to show me the finer details of operating the weapon. That included how to break it down for cleaning, and he said that it was something I'd want to do more than I had for in the pipe rifle. Speaking of which, even after spending a few years as an earth pony, I'm still occasionally amazed by how adept some of them can be at manipulating things with their mouth. Watching Dusty fully strip and reassemble that weapon was impressive, and I'm still not sure how he did it without getting a bunch of oil in his mouth. As it was, I struggled a bit to mimic his feat even with the aid of magic. I was still halfway through assembling the weapon again when Sickle kicked back against the exterior wall of the guard shack, asked the question that had been lingering in the back of our minds.
So, where the fuck are we gonna go now?
Starlight shrugged, watching at me work. Dusty frowned, as if thinking. While I could come up with some destinations of more personal interest, I opted to volunteer a slightly more neutral course.
We do still need to deal with Big Gun.
Yeah, Dusty said, though his frown remained. I'm still trying to think of how to do that. I paused in my assembly.
You mean a way to do that which doesn't involve my abilities?
His frown deepened. Yeah.
You know he's just gonna keep...
He quickly held up a hoof. I know! Look, I just... give me some time. Just give me a little bit more time to think on this. If I can't think of anything, then we'll do it your way. I turned back to assembling my new rifle.
I'm not sure if I like it being called my way. I don't like it much either, and I don't see that we have many other options in dealing with him before, well, he hurts more ponies.
He grunted in what seemed to be begrudging agreement.
Okay,
Sickle slowly said.
So, until Dirt here stops cunting it up, where the fuck are we gonna go?
Dusty scowled at her. Oh, fuck off, Sickle. This is serious!
Yeah, you're always trying too hard to be serious,
she replied, sneering inside her muzzle.
Just pull the fucking log out of your ass already, and let's get moving.
Dusty held his tongue, returning to watch me assemble my weapon with an extra critical eye. Starlight looked up, offering a suggestion.
Well, if we're not doing that, what about looking for Whisper's family?
Dusty looked over to her, thinking for a moment, before finally nodding. Yeah, we could do that. Despite having missed the entire conversation down in the depths of the CLT labs, Sickle shrugged.
At least it's better than sitting around and whining all day. So, where the fuck are they? I don't know,
I said. The Starlight chimed in.
That's kind of implied with the whole looking for thing, Sickle.
Sickle snorted, baring her teeth in a grin.
Oh, go fuck yourself, Runt.
She raised a spiked hoof, gesturing to me.
I figure Whimper's gotta know where to start looking. I have a few ideas,
I said, though I was aware I sounded rather uncertain.
It is possible that we had operations at other CLT facilities. That seems like the most likely place to start.
Dusty nodded. Okay. Where are those? I hesitated before admitting.
I don't know.
Sickle gave an annoyed groan, plates rattling as she thumped her head back against the wall.
I need to go through the data we got from Paradise Beach. There might be an address list tucked away in there, though I didn't see anything obvious. There's a lot of data, and it didn't look very well organized.
Okay, Dusty said. So how long will that take?
A quick but thorough skimming should take a few hours, though I might luck out and find something sooner. A thorough digging through the data could take days. Boring,
Sickle said.
I'm not even sure it would turn anything up,
I said.
I found a few references to other offices, but they're only referred to by region and name. Looks like all the shipping from the facility went through their regional office in Baltimore.
Starlight whistled. Baltimore? Dusty echoed. That's a long ways off, and I've only ever heard bad things about the swamps around there. Even the caravans don't make that run.
Well, what about your home?
Starlight asked.
I mean, wherever you came from before coming to Equestria. Wouldn't there be something there?
I slid the final retaining pin into place on the assault rifle and pulled the charging handle to make sure that the weapon cycled properly. It gave a good excuse to cover my hesitation, and I barely noticed Dusty's nod of approval as I set the weapon down again.
There might be some clues at the hive. I don't know. I'm worried about what I'll find there.
Starlight's ears drooped.
Oh. Yeah.
I sighed.
But it's one of the two places I can think of that might offer some sort of lead, and it is a lot closer than Baltimore.
Where? Dusty asked.
South,
I replied.
just inside the Badlands.
Sickle perked up.
Badlands? Oh, that sounds fun.
Dust had his thinking frown on once again. How far?
Not far, probably 3 or 4 days on hoof.
Starlight and Dusty looked to each other. Starlight took his lack of objection as consent, floating up her pip-book to present the map to me.
So, where are we heading?
I stared at the map for several long seconds before finally reaching up to manipulate the controls, placing a marker on the map.
You know, you might be the first ponies in history to know the location of our hive.
She set her pip-book down between us, and we looked over the map. It wasn't too far away, and a fraction of the distance to Baltimore. It was even shorter than the same trip that it would have been during the war. A huge expanse of empty wilderness between us and my hive had been under the administration of the Equestrian army. But they were no longer around to object to us trespassing. It would eventually lead us through a settlement, one that hadn't existed during the war. A different detail had caught Starlight's attention. She stared at the screen in silence, her eyes narrowed slightly, ears back. She continued to stare at the screen as she spoke.
Sickle, you seem to know a lot about the raiders around here, right? Oh yeah, the ones that I ain't killed yet, yeah.
She chuckled quietly to herself, her armor rattling faintly with a movement. Starlight raised her hoof, stabbing it down at the screen.
There's a mine near the tracks, about halfway between here and your shack. Do you know of a group of raiders based there?
Nah, Sickle said with a shrug.
Psycho used to run a gang out there, but she ran off like a little bitch. She knew what I would do to her if she ever came back. Well, there was a bunch of raiders there 2 weeks ago.
Sickle sat up. Her voice was suddenly serious.
Wait, really? Yeah,
Starlight said.
they're the ones who hit Longhaul's caravan, the one that we were in.
Dusty grunted, also staring down at the map. A slow smile spread across Sickle's face.
So, I'm thinking
Starlight said.
we go check out Whisper's hive,
She poked at the map again.
but we make a little detour along the way.
Dusty nodded, and Sickle started to chuckle, a deep and predatory sound. Starlight looked up to me. It was a potentially dangerous diversion, but I didn't object.
I'm okay with that.
Though, I think that may have been a lie. The truth is, I think I was looking forward to it.